The lives and final deaths of Bonnie and Clyde. Bonnie Elizabeth Parker was born on October 1, 1910, in Rowena, Texas, to Charles and Emma Parker. Her early years were marked by the warmth and love of a close-knit family, but this idyllic childhood was soon disrupted. After the death of her father when she was just 4 years old, Bonnie, her mother, and her siblings moved to Cement City, an industrial suburb of Dallas. This move was a significant change for the family, thrusting them into a more challenging environment. Despite growing up in modest circumstances, Bonnie was known for her bright intellect and artistic flair. She was a voracious reader and had a natural talent for writing, often penning poems and short stories that reflected her vivid imagination. She excelled in school, particularly in creative writing, and even dreamed of becoming an actress or poet. Her teachers often praised her for her creativity and determination, qualities that would later define her tumultuous life. Clyde Chestnut Barrow was born on March 24, 1909 in Ellis County, Texas, into a poor farming family. His early life was marked by hard work and financial struggle, common themes in rural Texas during that era. Clyde was the fifth of 7 children born to Henry and Cumie Barrow. The large family often found it difficult to make ends meet, and the children were expected to contribute to the household from a young age. The family struggled financially, eventually moving to West Dallas, a rough neighborhood plagued by poverty and crime. This environment exposed Clyde to the harsh realities of life and the temptations of a criminal path. Clyde initially had aspirations of becoming a musician and learned to play the guitar and saxophone. Music was his escape, a brief respite from the difficulties of his daily life. However, the harsh realities of his environment soon drew him into petty crime. The allure of quick money and the influence of local gangs proved too strong to resist, setting him on a path that would eventually lead to infamy. Clyde's descent into criminal activity began in his late teens. What started as minor thefts escalated to more serious offenses, including car theft and robbery. His early arrests and time spent in harsh prison conditions hardened him, transforming him from a small-time crook into a more ruthless outlaw. The brutal experiences he endured, including abuse at the Easton prison farm, fueled his hatred for law enforcement and the prison system. Bonnie's life took a dark turn after marrying Roy Thornton at the age of 16. The marriage was short-lived due to Thornton's criminal activities and subsequent imprisonment. By the time Bonnie met Clyde in 1930, she was disillusioned with conventional life but had no criminal record. Their meeting marked the beginning of a fateful partnership. Bonnie and Clyde met through a mutual friend in Dallas in January 1930. At the time, Bonnie Parker was a 19-year-old waitress, and Clyde Barrow was a 20-year-old small-time crook. Their meeting was serendipitous, a chance encounter that would set the stage for one of the most infamous crime sprees in American history. Their connection was instant, and Bonnie quickly became enamored with Clyde's rebellious spirit. Clyde, too, was captivated by Bonnie's fierce loyalty and adventurous nature. They were kindred spirits, drawn together by a shared sense of defiance against societal norms. Despite Clyde's imprisonment shortly after they met, Bonnie remained devoted, even helping him escape from jail using a smuggled gun. This daring act of loyalty solidified their bond and marked the beginning of their life on the run. Though he was recaptured and later released on parole, their bond remained unbroken. Clyde's time in prison only fueled his determination to live outside the law, and Bonnie was right by his side, ready to support him in any way she could. The couple embarked on a notorious crime spree during the Great Depression, spanning from 1932 to 1934. Their crimes were not just acts of desperation, but also statements of rebellion against a system they felt had failed them. Along with their gang, which included members like Raymond Hamilton, W.D. Jones, and other disillusioned young men of the era, and Clyde's brother Buck Barrow, they formed a tight-knit group that operated with a mix of loyalty and ruthlessness. They committed a series of robberies, burglaries, and murders across several states. Their targets were often banks and small stores, but they didn't hesitate to engage in violent confrontations with law enforcement. Their crimes targeted banks, small stores, and even police officers, earning them a reputation as dangerous fugitives. The law was always on their tail, but their cunning and audacity often allowed them to slip away. Despite their violent activities, Bonnie and Clyde captured the public's imagination, partly due to sensationalist media coverage that romanticized their exploits. Newspapers of the time often portrayed them as modern-day Robin Hoods, rebels with a cause. Bonnie's poetry, including the story of Bonnie and Clyde, added to their mythos, revealing a reflective, almost fatalistic awareness of their doomed fate. Her words painted a picture of two lovers bound together by fate, living on the edge of society. They robbed numerous banks, including the First National Bank in Okabena, Minnesota, and the Poteau State Bank in Oklahoma. Each heist was meticulously planned, showcasing their strategic minds and boldness. Their brutality was evident in the murders of law enforcement officers like Deputy Eugene C. Moore and Sheriff C.G. Maxwell. These killings underscored the dangerous lengths they were willing to go to avoid capture. Using cunning tactics, they often evaded capture by setting up roadblocks and using stolen cars for quick getaways. Their ability to outsmart the police became legendary, adding to their notoriety. Their operations were marked by a mix of brute force and strategic planning, making them one of the most infamous criminal duos in American history. Their story remains a testament to the allure of rebellion and the tragic consequences of a life lived outside the law. Bonnie and Clyde's reign of terror came to a violent end on May 23, 1934. The infamous duo had been on the run for over 2 years, leaving a trail of crime and chaos in their wake. Their notoriety had grown to legendary proportions, making them the most wanted criminals in America. After months of relentless pursuit, law enforcement, led by former Texas Ranger Frank Hamer, set up an ambush near Gibbsland, Louisiana. Hamer, a seasoned lawman with a reputation for toughness, meticulously planned the operation, knowing that any mistake could allow the fugitives to slip away once more. The posse, comprised of Texas and Louisiana officers, tracked the duo through informants and carefully planned the operation. They knew Bonnie and Clyde's habits, their routes, and even their favorite hideouts. The lawmen were determined to end the crime spree that had captivated the nation. As Bonnie and Clyde drove their stolen Ford V8 along a rural road, the posse opened fire without warning. The couple had been lulled into a false sense of security, believing they had once again evaded capture. But this time, the law was one step ahead. The couple had little chance to react. Over 130 rounds were fired, riddling their car and bodies. The sheer volume of gunfire was overwhelming, ensuring that neither Bonnie nor Clyde could escape. The ambush was swift, brutal, and final. The ambush was brutal and left their corpses grotesquely disfigured, confirming Bonnie's eerie premonition in her poem, "Someday They'll Go Down Together." Bonnie had always known their end would be violent, and her words now seemed hauntingly prophetic. And they'll bury them side by side. In death, as in life, Bonnie and Clyde remained inseparable. Their love story, though marred by crime, was undeniable. To few, it'll be grief. Their families and a few close friends mourned their loss, remembering the people they once were before their descent into infamy. To the law, a relief. For law enforcement, their deaths marked the end of a relentless and dangerous pursuit, a victory in the fight against crime. But it's death for Bonnie and Clyde. Their story, filled with romance, violence, and tragedy, would live on, forever etched in the annals of American history. Bonnie and Clyde's story remains a complex blend of romance, rebellion, and crime. They were products of their environment, shaped by the economic despair of the Great Depression and the allure of outlaw infamy. Their lives and deaths continue to fascinate, serving as a stark reminder of how desperation and defiance can intertwine with tragedy. The reason they were so brutally gunned down was because they had successfully managed to gun their way out of previous attempts to capture them while killing many who tried to, also because they had killed serving police officers.